Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across this beautiful blue-green globe of ours. Welcome to Real News Live. It is a Toxically Masculine Tuesday. I'm your host, Mike Barrett, in Las Vegas, Nevada, wearing the Boulder City shirt tonight and the Mariners cap, as I often do on this broadcast, because you know what? We're guys, and we don't give a shit how we look, because we're not out looking for babes. We're not on the prowl. We're just here to smoke some whiskey and drink some cigars. I don't know, something like that. We're just here for that. And it's great to be with all of you guys.
Mike's brain is losing it. I know that he's on his low carb diet.
Yeah, it's making me fucking nuts, but it seems to be working anyway.
What was the name of that song? The smoker I drink, the player I get.
Erica, well, you know, so Brooks Agnew is on the bottom rung of the Hollywood Squares thing today because he was late to the studio. So he was out, you know, taking care of his, watching his grandkids race motorcycles or something.
Cars, bandoleros.
Me, I've been watching the World Cup soccer matches, and you know, I mean, we're guys, we're supposed to like sports, but we don't always like sports. But I saw a really great match today. It was Shitholistan versus Regurgistan, and it ended up in a 0-0 draw. Shitholistan almost scored once or twice. Regurgistan didn't even come close, and the winner has to play Durkistan in the knockout round. What I'm trying to say is I'm hate watching this fucking World Cup. I cannot wait until every Muslim country is eliminated, and then I will say a prayer to Jesus and be very happy. So fuck you, Shitholistan and Regurgistan. Steve, you did a great job of not trampling over my line. So now tell me how soccer and sports in general are gay. Go ahead. Steve Dorr.
Well, I mean, it's already been established that you have extremely feminine and gay tendencies when it comes to professional sports.
Yeah.
There's not much I have to say.
I just think.
So is it true? Is this true? Did the both the Muslim teams, did they have like gay pride something or other?
Yeah, they celebrated Gay Pride Month by throwing the gays off the rooftops of.
Well, I know how they normally do it. I'm just saying that it was. I heard.
I don't think they're wearing rainbow. I heard
that for the World Cup they were supposed to do something.
I don't think the Muslim teams. No, see, not celebrating Pride Month is a hate crime unless you're Muslim, in which case it's perfectly okay to do that. So. Muslims. So I want to start tonight. Got a lot of things to talk about. Well, let's go through. Introduce everybody. That, of course, was Steve Dorr and the Trail Boss, the man, the most masculine member of the show, the man who owns more guns than most people have grains of rice in their cupboard. And below him, not beneath him, but below him in the Hollywood Squares arrangement is Dr. Brooks Agnew, the smartest man on the planet, the man from whom you should get your Ivan and Roxy and Fenben and Menben if you need it. Go to brooksagnew.blog. Brooks, why don't you tell him that, and then tell us how your grandson did today.
Well, we just went to observe because we're kind of making a transition from baseball to racing. So we went to observe, and it's funny to watch 9-year-olds going 80 miles an hour around the track. They're actually pretty good, and it's not that expensive to get into that kind of racing. Of course, it's about 10,000 times more expensive than baseball, but what's your grandkids worth?
Bro, when I became a Manchester City fan, when I went to a game at Main Road in 1981, the Muslims didn't own the team. And, the Muslims don't coach the team. I don't think there's any playing on the team. So fuck you. The man right next. Brooks, were you done? And what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I was going to say, I think soccer is a conspiracy against hand-eye coordination.
That's probably pretty true. And, of course, the other fourth member of the team, the gonzo journalist, the owner of the finest strip club in Nashville, Tennessee, TV's Blake Wally. Blake, you went out and visited Steve in Arkansas today, and did he try to get you into the hot tub? Because he kept trying to get me into the hot tub every time I visited him.
I didn't know there was a hot tub. Now I feel like I was left out. I didn't get the full experience there. No, but no, I had a great time. This was last week, actually. Yeah, I did spend the whole weekend.
There is no hot tub. Mike
the
has
ranch.
fantasies of being in the hot tub with me, but none exists.
Right, but
All right.
no, we had a blast, shot some guns, and had a great time. But I'm back in Nashville, back in the lounge in the finest strip club here in Nashville. We're extending, so
Also,
Grabbing
if
a
you
little
go
meal
to
here.
Blake, I forget where I saw it. Was it on X or was it on Instagram? If you go to Blake's social media, you'll see that they have upgraded and refined the interior of the Lickety Split, the finest strip club in Nashville. It's looking beautiful. It's looking almost like as good as the inside of Donald Trump's airplane. So pretty interesting stuff. All right.
Just like the 8th Room Lounge. And actually, real quick, I'm going to be drinking some of Steve gifted this to me, some of this fine rum. This is like a cane rum. So since I'm a professional bartender, I have taken it upon myself to make I'm going to mispronounce this, a caipirinha. This was Anthony Bourdain's favorite drink with a little lime and some simple syrup. It's an excellent cocktail for the summer. So thanks, Steve. Great stuff.
Well, theoretically, for about the 9th time in the last 9 weeks, I'm supposed to have lunch with Victoria, the producer from the Y-Files channel, Thursday. If I do, I will try to get you guys.
Her a boozer? Did you say the boozer?
No, she's a producer, Steve.
Oh.
Your hearing's going, dude. You need like a little ear. You need some hearing aids there, buddy. I'll try to get you. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to try to get you. I'm going to try to get you guys all some presents for Christmas. So
from the Y-Files?
Yes, look forward to that. So let's get started on the news. We got, otherwise we're going to have a really long show tonight. I'm going to just start someplace simple rather than international relations. The White House, of course, President Trump spent $14 million. I believe it was privately funded, most of it, but I'm not sure, on fixing the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., which back in the 70s when I was there and the 90s when I visited there, it was beautiful back when it was well taken care of, but it had become an algae-infested shithole. And all of a sudden, after it was painted and refilled and looked beautiful, all of a sudden there started being some algae in there, a whole bunch of algae. And then, the paint on the bottom tore up and it wasn't sticking. And they tried to say that Trump was incompetent and the people he hired were incompetent. Here's some pictures of the reflecting pool. This is, I guess, from today, looking nicer today, but there are still a few issues. But the big thing was that it turned out that it was vandalized, that there wasn't anything inherently wrong with the repairs done on the pool. Donald Trump posted today, 6 people have been arrested and 7 people have been cited for the damage they did to our country's now beautiful reflecting pool. The 350-foot gash made by a very sharp knife or razors is actually numerous slashes over a very long 350-foot length. They found that. It was purposefully and criminally done, and someone had to work very hard, probably in the dark of night, to create such a condition. Likewise, the small area in the bottom of the pool was cut and powerfully lifted off the surface, leaving very jagged, uneven edges. The large areas of grass are being replaced. In any event, even prior to fixing those areas, the reflecting pool is as beautiful as can be. Can I speak tonight? We will drain some of the water either immediately or before or after the 4th of July to do the permanent repair. President Donald J. Trump. I also understand that the algae, they caught some people putting algae into the pool. Here's a report of a man who was detained for vandalizing. The reflecting pool is the site of many famous events. For instance, Martin Luther King's famous "I Have a Dream" speech, and it was also where's Fox News? Oh shit. Okay, it was also Fox News reported on it. Here.
Any more details on the 5 people that have been arrested regarding vandalism here? The vandalism is very real, despite what Tim Walz wants to say. It's an imaginary problem. No, it is not. It's a very real problem. In fact, I spoke with the National Park Service just before joining the show. They now have 17 police reports that have been filed in just a matter of a few days. There's actually been 6 arrests at the Reflecting Pool, where again, these deranged individuals, many of them longtime donors to the Democrat Party, to Barack Obama, to Act Blue, that have been vandalizing and desecrating our federal monument, one of the most beautiful monuments in the world, the Reflecting Pool. And that's why President Trump is not going to stop with this effort. We're going to not only hold those people accountable, but we're going to fix the pool, continue to make it beautiful from this despicable vandalism just in time to celebrate our nation's 250th birthday next week.
Caroline.
Okay, so that was what the intent was. It was to essentially to have this beautified for the 250th anniversary of the United States coming up in just about 2 weeks. And I think personally vandalizing the federal monument ought to get you a felony conviction, 3 years in prison, and a federal pound me in the ass prison. Steve, what say you? What would you do to these people? And it's obvious. It's obvious there was no problem with the repair. It was beautiful. It's never looked so good. And then these people come along. The way the gash was described and all that, I don't know, Steve. What should happen to these people?
Well, they should be convicted, receive felony convictions, but they won't. If you remember, it seems like every year the far left vandalizes something. If you remember, they vandalized Mount Rushmore, did hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage, and they ended up plea bargaining. They charged them all with misdemeanors, some ridiculous $250 fine, $300 fine, and let them all go. So that's just the way it works in this country. Vandalize the things that the American people have to pay for. As long as you're on the left, you're going to get away with it with a slap on the wrist. But should they be charged with felonies? Should they go to prison for it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. Blake, what are your thoughts on this? And yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting because, the Washington Monument, for instance, is a giant Egyptian obelisk. The White House, the Washington, D.C. is laid out like a Masonic square and compass, if you really look at it. So there's no question about some of these occult symbols, but nevertheless, they should still be beautified. And the president spent some time and money, and it's like people wanted to come in and vandalize it simply, I think, because Trump wanted it to be beautiful.
Yeah, no, this is a petty thing, and it hurts everybody. It's not just going after Trump. So this is kind of an attack on our country. Now, I don't know if I would consider, whether I want to make it a felony. I'm kind of thinking maybe something more creative. Maybe there's some some major community service, maybe a visit to 25 cities, maybe bring the stockades back. I think it's not like a painful thing, but I think it's isn't that where they put like the wooden block, and then people can come up and talk to them and maybe tell them why what they did was inappropriate, and they can explain to people in their towns in these 25 cities or whatever we agree upon, and explain why they did what they did. So I think they should explain themselves if they want to bargain. Otherwise, they should probably be looking at some type of a felony. You can't encourage this type of behavior. They need to make an example of them somehow. So
I would not be anywhere near that lenient. I would say, look, you deface a federal monument. It's a felony. It's 3 years in federal pound me in the ass prison. Seriously. And I guarantee you the defacing of federal monuments and declaring what is and is not a federal monument would stop fairly quickly. Brooks, what are your thoughts on this? I realize it's not not a life-threatening issue, but
they should be very grateful they don't live in Singapore or Russia or China. But here's what I think should happen. I think they should be fined $5,000, 10 lashes well laid on, and turn them loose. And if you do it again, you pay again.
Wow, pay and have to pay a fine and get lashed. I guess Brooks is pretty intense about that. Okay, well,
corporal punishment works. Don't pay to put them in prison. Just whip the shit out of them. 10 lashes well laid on in public and turn them loose.
See, that's what happens when you cross Blake Wally. You get the shit whipped out of you.
Wow.
That's right.
Yeah, I would not have gone there, but Brooks did. All right, so that's good. So we have a peace deal in Iran. We don't have a peace deal in Iran. We do have a peace deal in Iran. We don't have a peace deal in Iran. Well, ahead of this week's meetings between Vice President J.D. Vance and representatives of the IRGC in Switzerland, there was all sorts of shenanigans going on. The Iranians said, oh, well, the Israelis hit us, and so we're closing the Strait of Hormuz. And the U.S. said, it's not closed. It's wide open, so come right through because you fuckers can't do anything about it. So there was some debate there. And then there was all this crap on Russia Today about, oh, the Iranian delegation was disrespectful to J.D. Vance. They don't fear Trump. Trump surrendered. Trump gave up everything. He's not going to get a thing. And then J.D. Vance went to Switzerland. And the following happened when the actual meetings took place.
And this is probably what we're most excited about as Americans. The Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country. That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran. And that's exactly what we wanted to do. That's exactly what we asked to happen. We made a lot of great progress on other nuclear talks. And that leads me to the final thing that we wanted to accomplish, which is actually set up the process for the technical negotiations that will follow. And this is probably what.
Okay, so he said that, and then when he, I believe, arrived back.
And we feel very, very good about where that is. We have the Iranians allowing weapons inspectors, nuclear inspectors into their country for the first time in a long time. We're obviously going to bolster that inspection regime to make sure they can never have a nuclear weapon. And finally, we continue to make progress on these technical negotiations. We left a lot of our team. The Iranians left a lot of their team at the resort there to keep on working at it. So all in all, a very productive 36 hours. We're going to have to keep working it. The last point that I'll make is, as I told you all this morning, this is laying a foundation for what could be a truly transformed Middle East. But we haven't built the house yet. We're going to have to keep on building, and that's what we'll do. And we feel very, very good about where that is.
Okay, so that's what Vance had to say. So, Brooks, let's start with you. Do we have an agreement or don't we have an agreement? Or do we have an agreement to continue to talk about an agreement? And it actually does appear to me that Iran did realize they were over a barrel, and they really did have to agree to get rid of the nuclear weapons. Isn't that what this was ultimately all about? And only what it should have been about regime change, but it wasn't.
Well, yes and no. I mean, the president of Iran is still talking the same old game that they were talking before. The U.S. needs to accept that we're going to keep enriching uranium, blah, blah, blah. It was actually the Pakistanis and the Pakistani middleman that pulled it all back together and said, look, you guys are being really stupid. Okay, you have a chance here to save your country and become part of the global community or lose everything. And that's why they came back to the table and started talking. What we are negotiating here is the unconditional surrender of the Iranian leadership. And hopefully we start seeing the Persian people represented in their government.
Okay, well, if you're negotiating it, it doesn't seem to me it's an unconditional surrender. We have a comment from Picking Winners Resale. Says, it seems that JD and Trump have turned on Israel. They've been rougher on Israel. Blake, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that, and where do you feel like the situation is? Because I feel like there was a lot of bluster from Iran so that all the leftists could tweet out about how they didn't respect the U.S. and then they completely caved when they got down face to face. That feels like that's what happened today, this week. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's a mess because it keeps going back and forth. It's the as Brooks has said, it's like the Schrodinger Strait. Is it open? Is it closed? Is there a peace deal or not? It changes by the day, by the week. So nobody's sure what to expect. But I might be politely disagree here. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of unconditional surrender. From my perspective, it seems like Iran is kind of holding the cards. They're in the kind of position of power. We can't really force them to open the Strait of Hormuz. They're not going to unconditionally surrender. And the only thing we can really do, we can't invade them. So all we can do is, threaten them with war crimes. But that's just going to ruin our negotiations with everybody because nobody wants this war. NATO's not going to come in. China, Russia's not going to come in. Saudi Arabia. I don't know who's going to come to the rescue. So to me, this is all about appeasing Israel. And it's been the powerful Jewish lobby and powerful donors that have been lobbying for this, as well as Israeli intelligence, which has, again, misled us into, Iran is imminently going to have weapons of mass destruction. So it's a disaster.
I don't know that you can.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can say that. I mean, I've heard, and I think Brooks has heard, that the president did see very serious intelligence about them getting a nuclear warhead ready to go on a missile when he launched these strikes in February. That was basically what happened. So, we don't know, and they're not going to tell us. So we aren't going to know for sure whether that's true or not. Steve, you think the Iranians were close to a nuke? And if a nuke is not a big deal, as Blake has just asserted, then why did we do all this? Because the only thing we really seem to be concerned about is making sure they don't get nukes.
Well, the Iranians have been trying to obtain a nuclear weapon, make a nuclear weapon since probably the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't been successful at this point. They've even gone to the extreme of hiring German scientists to help them with the project and the process. And the Israelis went in, killed the German scientists, which put the whole process to a halt. But no, it's not over. It's a typical Middle Eastern ploy. They pretend to be cooperative. They're acting like they want a peace deal. They're acting like they're going to change and everything's going to be great and we're all going to be friends. And the reality is it just buys them time to figure out their next evil game.
Yep.
And again, as I have said many times, the Persian people are the losers. That's why they are going around asking, putting up signs, requesting that free countries like ours donate weapons to them so that they can defend themselves, because they are still being tortured, murdered, and brutalized because of their stand against the current regime. The current regime still staying in power is actually a black eye to the United States to allow an evil dictatorship to remain in power when they had the ability to completely destroy them and eradicate them from that country.
Yeah, it's really hard. They've stated that regime change is not the objective of this military operation against Iran. My question is, why not? If you're going to go there, shouldn't it be to wipe the IRGC off the face of the earth, kill them all, and give the country back to the Persians, Brooks?
Yeah, you're exactly right. But, in history, that has not worked out well for the United States. We've tried regime change many times. But typically what happens is corruption soaks into the negotiations because somebody's making a hell of a lot of money out of that. And the regime change turns into just another despot coming into power. A whole bunch of politicians get paid off, and the game goes on. We should do regime change the right way. And that's the way you just described. Wipe the IRGC out and let the Persians take over their country.
Well, yeah, that's the British way of doing it, the way you just described. Yes, Blake.
Just on that point, I think that's what happened initially. That was happening behind the scenes. And Mike, you talked about that. Like, why aren't we arming these people? I think that's exactly what they were trying to do. That's why there was a revolt. So they funneled all these weapons to the Kurds. The Kurds, held on to a whole bunch, but then they gave some to the revolutionaries to rise up. So it was an actual insurrection, but it failed. And then they tried to go in and just decapitate the Ayatollah, which they did. But then now it's created a power vacuum. And I'm sorry against with Steve, though, the Israel is the one that's continuously undermines the peace agreement. They don't want it. They're the only country that wants the war, and they keep undermining us and bombing Lebanon. And it's pissing everybody off.
However, the same day that the Swiss talks took place, Israel backed down and stopped fighting and stopped bombing, and things have been quiet there for several days.
Yep.
It's almost like somebody right after Vance and Trump basically told Israel, you better toe the line or we're going to stop helping you, kind of a thing. I think that may have had an impact. And the thing is also, Blake, I think that we did not support them. We did not give them guns. We did. The whole Kurds thing was only part of it. They had a somewhat separate military. we should have been arming we should have been paradropping the rifles and the ammo into the middle of Tehran. It's not like we didn't have absolute air supremacy, not air superiority, air supremacy over the skies of Tehran. We knew exactly where all the protesters were gathering. We could have dropped the weapons right there to them. We didn't do any of that stuff. And again, it seems like we're in this British cycle, exactly like Steve just described, which is that you get somebody else in there. There's all this corruption, but isn't it true? Look, if this government in Iran was overthrown and a peaceful Christian government of Persians took over, there would be little to no conflict in the Middle East. Wouldn't it basically be over, Blake? Wouldn't it be over? I mean, all you'd have is Israel attacking Hezbollah or Hamas. Yeah, Hezbollah. But Hezbollah is an arm of Iran. If the Iranian government isn't there to supply them, they disappear too, don't they? I mean, so why don't we finish the job when we're this close? It's like, Steve, you got the guy on the ropes. He's on the ropes. He's staggered. He's on Queer Street, as they used to call it in boxing. Why don't you just fucking knock the guy out? Why?
This is a confusing situation, and is looking at it historically, it's hard to say who our real allies are. Or the Christians, do they get along better with the Muslims, who are more receptive to Jesus, actually like Jesus a lot, versus yes, that Steve, no, Jesus is adored by the Muslims. He is a prophet.
That's the most ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life. That is the most ignorant thing you have ever said on this show.
No, it's not. Look it up. That's true.
It's
and
bullshit.
He did say Arabs. He did not say Muslims.
Their Jesus, their prophet Jesus that the Muslims talk about, when he comes back, he's going to kill the Christians and the Jews. Yes, he is. No. You don't know what you're talking about. I have a doctorate in theology, jackass.
Well, and
everything you're saying is total bullshit.
That's not bullshit.
Okay.
So Jesus would be safe in Israel? Okay, no. Israel is anti-Jesus.
If you're going to make a comment like that, study it and figure it out. You're
wrong on this. And I will absolutely. We'll continue this conversation, Steve. You are absolutely
and don't be ignorant about it. You show me the facts. Quit
quoting Israel? Do you think Israel would welcome Jesus?
All this bullshit.
No. Well, no. Wait. Let me just ask you one question. If Jesus came back, where would he be safe? Where would he be respected? Iran or Israel? Very simple question, Steve.
Iran? They'd kill him. They'd kill him because he's a Jew.
It is true that it was
a prophet there. They respect Jesus. He's a prophet.
It was the Jews.
The Jews think that Jesus is boiling in shit, that he's a sorcerer, that he was a rebel who revolted against the Pharisees, and that his mother was a whore. That's true.
All right.
Look that up. They spit on Christians. They speak down to us in Hebrew.
Okay. Well, when Jesus comes back, according to Islam, he's going to kill you first, and then he's going to kill the Jews.
Very extreme interpretations of Sharia law, perhaps that is true. I'm not debating that. But in general, I think it's Islam. They respect Jesus. Israel does not. Right.
You come here for the macho guys and the drinking and the cigar smoking, and you get a deep theological discussion, which it merits a continuation when Steve's a little less hot-headed about it. But, All right, guys. Speaking of corruption, Keir Starmer, the pedophile PM of Britain, was forced to resign this week. Let's listen to a little bit of faggoty butt-fucking Keir.
6 years ago, I inherited a Labour Party that was politically, financially, and morally bankrupt. I was told time and time again that my party was finished, that we were consigned to history, that a majority at the general election, let alone a landslide majority, was impossible. But we proved those people wrong because we changed our party, ripping out the poison of anti-Semitism, restoring trust on the economy, defense, and national security, and becoming a party that once again stood proudly with, not against, our national flag. The hard work of change was with a singular purpose, not power for power's sake, but to change Britain for the better, to build a fairer country with dignity and respect, where everyone is seen, everyone is valued, wealth and opportunity for all, not just the privileged few.
And then a little bit later, the little bitch cried.
Being the best husband I can. And when I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job. Being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic,
And raping
who's
little
been
kids.
a rock by my side through good times and bad. And being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy.
Who I like to rape.
Thank you very much.
And and then he got a surprise guest.
When I leave the biggest job in the country, I shall spend more time on the most important job. Being the best husband I can to my fantastic wife, Vic, who has been a rock by my side through good times and bad. And being the best dad I can to my beautiful children, who are my pride and my joy. And when I leave the biggest job...
So that's Donald Trump dancing to YMCA. Brooks, if all that shit he said is true, which is nonsense, he protected his people. We're going to talk about the rape gangs in a minute. If any of that is true, why was he forced to resign as a complete abject failure?
Exactly. And it wasn't just him. It was labor in general all over the EU. They lost over 1,000 seats. There were areas that had not voted anything but labor since 1922, and they kicked them all out. Why? Because it has been unfettered immigration, and it has been privileges for the raping immigrants that have come in from Sweden all the way to Italy. They're sick of it. They want these people deported, and the people moved all at once to reject Starmer and reject Van der Crazy and get all these assholes out of their country.
Yep, that is absolutely true. Steve, I know you don't really give a shit about Britain. I don't blame you.
Nope.
But isn't this somewhat of some good news that this guy, and I mean, this guy has ties to, we'll talk to Blake. I'll talk to you about that, Blake, when we get to you. But, isn't it a good sign, at least, that people are being forced from office? And here's the interesting thing to me. 2 or 3 days later, or earlier, Donald Trump said Keir Starmer is going to resign as the prime minister of Britain when he was still steadfastly denying it. Makes you kind of wonder. It's kind of like when the Queen motioned the President Trump, to walk in front of her in 2017 because he's the sovereign and she's not. Kind of makes you wonder who actually owns Britain and who actually is running the show over there. What do you think?
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, the thing is that he has defended the Muslims in the country, all of the atrocities that they've committed against the British people. The British people have stood up. They said they want these people removed from their country. So only time will tell. It's been an abortion throughout the UK where the citizens who built that country have been victimized. They have been tortured and abused by the illegals that they have allowed into the country, by the individuals that they've allowed to come into that country. And let's hope we see a mass exodus of those who would do harm to the people of the UK.
Blake, this guy has long-standing ties to people like Jimmy Savile, who is a known accepted pedophile in Britain, yet he was still put forward by Labour. I think because Labour's just probably so full of pedos, that's basically all they have to choose from. Do you think that there's going to be any significant movement in Britain politically because of this? And, he talked about how they they won their election anyway. Well, they fucking stole it, just like the left steals elections everywhere. They're wildly unpopular, as Brooks pointed out. There's no fucking way Labor won the last election. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of a hothead. What do you think about the situation in Britain right now?
I guess at the very least, it's an addition by subtraction. Hopefully, he was an embarrassing globalist corporate hack. Total puppets and probably absolutely blackmail. I don't know if he's a pedo, but if he's hanging around with Sevilla and the gang, I would assume they do. They don't let people like that get into power unless they can control them and pull the strings. And I think a lot of people joke that they didn't really believe he was actually in charge. I would think, and that's where I'm going to agree with Steve a lot, is the immigration policy has been disastrous, and they need to, kick out a lot of those people that don't belong in a civilized Western society. That's totally fine. Yeah, they need somebody I thought they did the whole Brexit thing, so they should be out of the European Union, corporate bureaucracy, and get some hopefully new Churchill type. But no, it's just. We'll see what happens next. I don't know, but we can't trust the elections. I hope that they can save their culture, because they've got a great culture, but they're losing it.
Yeah, let's go for Nigel Farage in Britain, even though he's not perfect. But Nigel Farage and Conor McGregor in Ireland. Thank you, Roland Del Rey. Guys, please like, subscribe, Rumble Rant, and Super Chat. It really helps us keep the doors open and keep doing this show. We really appreciate it. Deb says thank you. I was happy to see Reform UK gain steam and roll over to Labour. Yeah, but they still stole the last election. There's no way there's been a Labour government in Britain the last 2 or 3 election cycles. And primarily it's because of shit like this. It turns out there was a report that came out this week basically on the number of rapes that have taken place in Great Britain in the last few years. 250,000 white, not pretty much just all white, young British girls raped by Muslim immigrants. This is an official government report. The government did not want this report to come out, but if it's official, it's probably 4 times worse than that. Let's take a little bit of a look at the public hearing that was held a couple of days ago.
To welcome these brave survivors who are sitting behind us in the hall. This debate is about them. As you quite rightly say, it's not about politics. I want the world to hear what we heard during the 2 weeks of our independent rape gang inquiry hearings, an inquiry that should never have needed to happen. I sincerely urge this Parliament to listen to the testimonies from these brave survivors and to act, to finally act. So the first testimony, he took his pants down, penetrated me, had sex with me. He then stopped before ejaculation. He picked up the bottle of Jack Daniels, which was now empty, and he forced it up inside me. He broke the glass while he was there. At that point, I was about 12, nearly 13.
Okay, I don't want to read I don't want him to read too many more of those, but there are things that are in the rape gang inquiries. One survivor said most insults started with "you white something," "you English piece of shit." There was always kind of a tone to it, whether it was "you Christian," whatever it was. You white, whatever. So they were picked out because they were white by these Muslim rape gangs. It was all of the white girls in every home that I went to. And I've seen girls locked. I remember a man opening the back of a van and I saw maybe 15 or 20 girls locked in dog cages. They looked like they were on drugs. These are all sworn testimony. That was the one I just read. They're all sworn testimony from the victims. The mother of a rape gang survivor, I heard the police officers' radio go, and I heard them say that they were taking my daughter to Muhammad's brother's address. I begged them not to take her there. I was like, they're the people that are doing this to her. You cannot take her there. They're going to kill her, because I did believe they were going to, and they didn't listen to me. They did take her there. And like I said, she was abused there by them, by some ass fucking hole named Muhammad. Inquiry panelists, you said around 100 men. What races were they? Mainly Pakistani. Were there any white men? Survivor, no. Did they ever speak about religion? Yeah, loads of times. They used to tell me things about the good angel and the bad angel that I've been kind of possessed. and they've got to punish me to get the badness out of me. That's why they have to rape me and do all this stuff to me to get the badness out of me. I've got to be punished. Yeah, it was just all kinds of stuff like that. The words they say to you, your Gora, like white trash and white skin. Let's face reality. Let's face it, okay? These gangs are trying to destroy the white race in Britain. The government of Britain, led by Keir Starmer, is trying to destroy the white race in Britain. It's that simple. It's that simple. So anything less, to my mind, than every single Muslim immigrant from any Muslim country, any person of color in the last 20 years that has come into Britain needs to be rounded up and deported back to Shitholistan or Durkistan or back to wherever they came from and never let in again. In fact, I would say I'd just take them all out. I'd go Hitler on them. I'd open the concentration camps. But that's just me. Anybody have an opinion on any of this? Brooks?
Well, I don't know how their society puts up with it. There have been knifings and rapes, and you're right, they target the white women. They've openly said that their goal of coming to Europe is to rape all the white women. No white woman is safe walking alone, even in a group, even with their friends, because they just overpower you. It's time to deport all of them.
Yeah, that's the least of it. I'll get to Steve last. Blake, what would you do to these people if this was your country?
Well, this has obviously been a failed social experiment. It's not working. A lot of them are not integrating well, and they need to be removed. That's just you can't go into somebody else's country and treat the people like that. So yeah, it's either execution for a lot of them. They don't belong in our gene pool. And the rest should, absolutely get out. There's certainly some that are good immigrants and they've come there for the right reasons. And I'm totally cool with them staying. At least it's their permission. At least that's what I would do. But the rest have to be out, and they should have to screen all of them. Unfortunately,
I don't see how you screen them. I don't see how you screen them, because a lot of these guys pretend to be one thing and then they get here and they turn completely different. I just say you make a list of countries. We will not have any immigrants from any African countries or any of these Middle Eastern countries. None of them. And any Muslim country, forget it. You're not getting into Britain. That's what Japan has done. Even they are showing signs of weakening. Steve, what do you have to say about this global problem that is going on, and what do you think we should do about it?
Islam is a cancer. It needs to be completely eviscerated. It needs to be dealt with extreme violence. Forget all of this touchy-feely crap. If you look in the UK, well, first of all, let me say this. I think the men, if there's anybody from the UK watching, you're all a bunch of pussies. You deserve everything you get because you are not standing up for your women. You are not standing up for your country. You are so afraid of the police there who are on the side of the immigrant that you refuse to do anything. I mean, it is an absolute tragedy that 250,000 of your women, your soccer stadiums or football stadiums hold about 70,000 people. That's 4 times as many women have been accosted, raped, brutalized by immigrants. And what have the men of that country done about it? Not a damn thing. You're a bunch of pussies. You're losers. You should be literally taken out and horsewhipped for your lack of action protecting your women and children. And on top of that, you need to take these people literally by the neck, throw them on a ship, and sink it on the way back to wherever it's going.
Yeah, Regurgistan is where it's going. I agree, Steve, and that's what I would do too. Absolutely. It remains to be seen what, if anything,
get more upset, and I'm not even playing off of your gayness, but they get more upset over the loss of a football game than they do over 250,000 basically children being raped and tortured.
Yep. And they just don't do a damn thing about it. But guess what? One of the reasons why they can is because they gave up their guns. That's what happens when you give up your guns.
I'll tell you what, if I had a sock, if I lived there and all I could get my hands on was a sock and a soup can, I'd be busting people's brains out.
Well, that did happen in England. Some guy stabbed 5 Paki guys, and I don't blame him. It's time, and there are people who think that not only should we be arming the Persian people, we should be arming the British people as well. Brooks, what do you think about that?
Well, I was going to say, with the World Cup, we've had a lot of foreign visitors come into this country, and they've posted a lot of videos, just outstanding videos about what they've seen in America. And one British couple was talking about
they seem to love ribs. Yeah,
they went to a Walmart.
Ribs.
Well, they went to a Walmart, and they found that they sold guns. And they sold knives, and not just kitchen knives, regular, battle knives, hunting knives.
Yeah, combat.
And they were amazed because you can't get any of that stuff in England. Nothing. You can't even get a kitchen knife.
Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
Yeah. So, I don't want to deal with the Obama library opening. It's a pile of shit. Bono sang on it. I'm like, did Bono sing a song about the Irish guy who got almost beheaded and blinded by a fucking piece of shit Muslim immigrant? Oh, no, of course not. Gentlemen, would you concur that the biggest universal problem that the planet faces at the moment is Islam? Does anybody disagree with that? Blake, do you think it's the Jews instead of Islam?
Not the Jews, just the Zionist death cult version, the recent form of the Jew that made this Schofield Bible that bombard this Christian ideology of Zionism, integrating us, that the Rothschild-funded fake country of Israel that they've set up as colonizers. No, I'm not really a fan of that. But American Jews that love America, those are totally fine. Those are my great people. I don't want to be, mistaken for anti-Jew. I'm not anti-Semite, but I'm skeptical of a certain group that has gotten a little too much power in our government and in media and so many other things, and people are noticing, and they're the ones I think are the biggest threat in the world right now. Not so much Islam.
I think it's Islam, but I'll disagree with you on that. That's okay. We can disagree and still have a cigar together. Well, although we don't puff off the same one, but we will still have a cigar together. Right. Yeah. So I guys, I just want everybody out there that sees this video within the sound of my voice to like, subscribe, Rumble, Rant, and Super Chat. We could really use the Super Chats and stuff. I appreciate that. I got to buy these guys Christmas presents, but. Here's the point that I think is really the most important point. If the Democratic Party ever gets control of the United States government again, this is exactly what will happen in the United States. Yep. This is exactly what will be happening to you. If you are an American and you vote for a Democrat, you're insane, because this is what you're voting for. You're voting for your own children to be raped, abused, murdered at the hands of scumbag Turkistan Muslim immigrants. You are. That is what their plan is. What you're seeing in Britain, what you're seeing in Ireland is the left, the globalists' plan for the world. And the United States right now is the last man standing. It has all come down to us, and we have to stand and fight and show the rest of the world how it's done, just like we're fighting the aliens in Independence Day. So get your brains together. Now, one other issue we've talked about over the is the Iraq-Kuwait. The Ukraine-Russia war has been going on for several years now, and this week there were a bunch of terrorist strikes by the Zelensky government, probably not Zelensky himself giving the orders. The orders were given by NATO on civilian targets in Moscow, and they were marginally effective, I suppose. There was all this stuff about, look at all these videos of all these big explosions, but I have a tendency to think, of course, the left is completely exaggerating the significance of that, but I don't know. But this whole thing started, we'll talk about the state of the war, Brooks, but this whole thing started in 2022. Because the Ukrainian government, at the behest of NATO and the Biden administration, put nuclear weapons facilities and biolabs on the border of Russia in order to create pathogens that would be used as biological weapons against the Russian people and the entire world if necessary. Brooks, did you have something?
Well, they did worse than that. They systematically went into areas of Ukraine where Russian nationals were living, and they murdered the adults. Then they took their children and put them into orphanages, tens of thousands of them.
And you know where those kids ended up? They ended up in, the offices of Democratic politicians in the
Well,
US.
they also ended up in the bioweapons labs being experimented on. Same old Nazi bullshit they've been doing for 70 years.
That's correct. And this week, before she left office, DNI Tulsi Gabbard spilled the beans on the Ukrainian biolabs. For years, the liberals, the Democrats told us they weren't real. Oh, and a biolab is not a bioweapons lab. Yes, these labs, they were all bioweapons labs, and you shouldn't have any biolabs on the border of your enemies. Let's listen to Tulsi tell it like it is, or like it was before she left office. Where is she? I'll bring her up, and we'll let her say it in her own words.
After months of searching through intelligence community holdings and files, today I'm releasing new evidence of longstanding U.S. government funding of more than 120 biolabs in over 30 countries. Now, these biolabs include labs in places like Ukraine, which could be at risk of compromise due to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. In fact, the intelligence community had previously warned that a U.S.-funded biolab in Ukraine likely housed dangerous pathogens and remained vulnerable to longstanding threats of Russian attack, seizure, or damage. Now, until now, evidence regarding the full existence and funding of these laboratories had been knowingly withheld from you, the American people. Many of these U.S. government-funded biolabs are currently or have previously engaged in research using hazardous and highly contagious pathogens, and in some cases included dangerous gain-of-function research, with very little visibility or oversight. Now, President Trump clearly understands the serious threat dangerous gain-of-function research poses to the American people. And this is why he took decisive action over a year ago. On May 25th, 2025, he signed an executive order to end federal funding of gain-of-function research around the world. Here at ODNI, I issued new guidance to the intelligence community directing increased collection on these laboratories and facilities overseas. And we're already seeing the results of this increased collection. We're learning new details, for example, on clinical trials that are underway at these facilities and that are raising significant ethical, financial, and security concerns regarding the supposed public health initiatives and U.S. national security. Now, despite the obvious potential for catastrophic global impact that research on dangerous pathogens in biolabs can have, politicians and so-called health professionals like Dr. Fauci, as well as entities within the Biden administration's national security team, lied repeatedly to the American people about the existence of U.S.-funded and supported biolabs. Not only did they lie, they threatened those who attempted to expose the truth. So this release today breaks new ground, as the information surrounding the existence, history, locations, and funding of these U.S.-funded biolabs has been intentionally covered up by very powerful people who falsely claimed that these biolabs didn't exist. Now, they accused anyone who says otherwise to be foreign assets and traitors to America. Now, ODNI will continue working closely with partners across the U.S. government to identify exactly where these labs are and what pathogens they contain to end dangerous gain-of-function research that threatens the health and well-being of the American people and people around the world.
Okay.
After months of searching.
So Tulsi, I thought, laid it out very, very clearly there. You were told a bunch of lies. It's all true. And Russia was completely justified in going into Ukraine to get rid of these labs. Were they not, Brooks?
Well, they not only did that, the very first thing they did when they first did their incursion is they took buses with them. And they emptied out all of the orphanages and took those children back to Moscow where they could be distributed to relatives. They stopped the sale of Russian children all over the world by Victoria Nuland and her gang. And they stopped the human experimentation that was going on in those bioweapons labs. So that was one thing that Putin did. But I'm with Steve on this. I don't think a fucking thing is going to be done to these people.
Okay, so if a fucking thing's not going to be done to these people, why come out and make this statement and tell people the truth about this, Steve? I don't get it.
Because they like to lead you to believe that the general public's memory is about 30 seconds, and then they get on their phone and they watch YouTube or they go on Facebook and they forget about everything they just heard. So the fact that she's bringing it out about what's going on does not mean that they're going to act on it. So in a person's mind, they think, oh, they've discovered all this information. They're going to go after these people. They're going to put them in prison. Just like when Trump first took office and we were told about all the people that were stealing trillions of tax dollars. We were told that they had been identified. We knew who they were, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so immediately we thought, oh, they're going to take action. They're going to do something about this, and people are going to start to be arrested and put in prison for their crimes against the American people. They're not. All they're doing is it's smoke and mirrors to get you to believe they're going to do something, and they do nothing. How hideous is it that we know that American tax dollars went to biolabs where children were used as guinea pigs in these labs,
Right on.
orphanages, and we are doing nothing. The fact is, we should have that alone should make us completely pull out of the Ukraine and give them no support whatsoever.
That's right.
I agree, and Brooks, I'm in favor of completely pulling all military aid to the Ukraine. In fact, I'm just going to tell NATO to go. I would tell NATO to go chase a rolling donut. We're not going to support this war anymore. You guys go right ahead. But in fact, I think we should be on Russia's side, to be honest, in this conflict.
Well, the Ukraine has always been a Nazi state since World War II. They're Nazis.
The
Azov Battalion, yeah.
14th SS Grenadier Division became the first infantry division of the first Ukrainian army after the war. So yes,
Correct.
You're right. Literally the same soldiers.
Listen, one of my friends left the United States. He lived in Texas. His name was Russell. He left Texas, went to Ukraine, joined the DPR, which was fighting the Ukrainians that were killing ethnic Russians. He lasted for 2 years. They captured him, and they tortured him and killed him. I was in regular communications with him, and he told me directly, not only were there SS uniforms, but there was Al-Qaeda fighting for Ukraine in the ethnic Russian areas, killing adults, sniping them.
Yeah, still not over the fact they lost World War II. I mean, guys, come on. So, yes, it is true that Tulsi has left the Trump administration. The reasons for that are vague. She says it's her husband's health. I don't think most people believe that. Maybe Tulsi served her purpose and now she's going to turn it over to somebody else. This guy, Bill Pulte, has come in and immediately fired like 1,000 people in the intelligence community. It's pretty interesting stuff. Blake, I want to get to you on this one. What don't you think that this dictates or demands criminal indictments of people in the U.S. that were part of setting these biolabs up, including Newland, Fauci, Obama? Aren't these people all? These are war crimes. You're building a biological weapon that is expressly forbidden by the Geneva Convention to even be working on these. Clearly, I think we have evidence. Shouldn't all these people be tried in The Hague for war crimes? Or am I just like barking up a tree here?
No, they should. And that's why they've been covering this up. They know what they've been guilty. They know they're guilty. They didn't want this, come out. So yeah, unfortunately, Tulsi is like on the way out. She's finally mentioned this. I think somebody else pointed out that maybe this is like the day after the statute of limitations is up on a certain issue with Fauci.
Yep.
So it's just more of this political theater where we think we're going to do something and they're going to hold somebody accountable, but they never do. And yeah, some of these especially these like smug leftist media outlets deserve to be humbled. and their biggest sin. See, that's something like this. I don't even know if they're going to cover this. And of course, a lot of the guilty, their lies are like by omission. They keep their people in the dark, so they don't know what's actually going on. And they're not going to give, Tulsi credit for something like this. And I'll never forgive them. It's another one that, Brooks, you had a friend die, and of course, you were also, I thought, in contact with Gonzalo Lira, and he's a hero in my book, and I'm still pissed about that. Newland should be on Nuremberg, even just for him.
Yeah, and Gonzalo Lira, his jail keepers in Ukraine actually felt sorry for him because Victoria Nuland had him in there, wouldn't let him out. So they gave him his license and told him to run. So he did. He got his motorcycle and he ran, and he got all the way to, I believe it was
the Hungarian
Polish border.
Yeah.
And he was about to cross the border, and Victoria Nuland called ahead. He sent us a film of him at a way station. He was about 6 miles from the border. He got to the border, they captured him, and they took him back and killed him for his fucking YouTube channel. They killed him.
There is no justice in the world. There isn't any. You should look at how many reporters work for the CIA. That's also true. All right, guys. One last issue. It wouldn't be a Toxically Masculine Tuesday without a little alien talk. I saw a really horrible alien movie about 10 days ago. We talked about it a little bit last week, but my friend Gary Buechler over at the Nerdrotic channel did a review of the movie, and I'm going to talk to you about it because I think it might be significant. But here is Gary's first part of Gary's review of Disclosure Day, a film by Steven Spielberg.
If everything's ready, you're on the dark side of the moon. Play the 5 tones.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million lovers of cinema, for which every single one of you has enjoyed a Steven Spielberg movie at one point in your life, and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet, who have also enjoyed a Steven Spielberg movie or 10 at some point in your life. This may be the most difficult review I've ever had to record in the history of this channel. While I obviously have no problems ripping a bad movie, and quite often, oh hell, all the time, I enjoy it, this is not that day. I do not relish the thought of giving a Steven Spielberg movie a bad review, but here we are. This is the cinematic equivalent of taking away Grandpa's car keys, because without a doubt, Disclosure Day is Steven Spielberg's worst and most disappointing film by far. And yes, I'm including 1941, his subpar segment in the Twilight Zone movie. Hook, Always, BFG, and Ready Player One are masterpieces compared to this, and I would go so far as to say that Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull is better than Disclosure Day, and that's not even an Indiana Jones film. I would even watch the most vanity project in the history of vanity projects, Fabelmans, over watching Disclosure Day again. Steven Spielberg doesn't have a perfect record, but even in his mediocre films, there's a certain amount of cinematic excellence. They were well directed despite having crappy stories. The same cannot be said for Disclosure Day. And full disclosure for me, I'm not only a UFO enthusiast, I'm a hardcore believer. So much so, I do a show every Sunday night at 5:30 p.m. Central called Forbidden Frontier, where we discuss the UFO topic and many more. Inspired by the late, great Art Bell, I've read hundreds of books on the UFO subject, from Jacques Vallée to Richard Dolan.
I didn't know you could read.
Kind of wondering why Gary didn't mention me there instead of Dolan, but that's neither here nor there. Guys, the thing about this that gets me is this is horrible movie, grossly incompetent. And here's what I think, because it's political. I think they thought the people in charge, the people who were planning this, Brooks, I think they thought this was going to put them over the top. This was going to get everybody talking about aliens and everybody thinking aliens were a really big deal. And, you know, they were here to be our friends, our space brothers, which I think is bullshit, but it was an absolute abject failure. Now, I thought it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I have to agree with Gary, and, you know, Gary, you know, buy more of my books. Advertise my books. Come on, Gare. But I mean, don't you think you had a slightly different opinion, Brooks? But I feel like we were watching two different movies. What do you think about it?
Well, I go to the movies to be entertained, to escape, and I was entertained. But here's the deal. There were three general themes about this movie which were misplaced. Number one is that these kids were childhood experiencers. They were taken onto a ship. They were given special abilities. Those abilities remained dormant until their young adult life, and then they became expressed. Only two people in the whole world. That's totally doesn't happen. The other is the gray alien that stood up out of the wheelchair in the end.
Yeah.
That alien was actually constructed from the personal testimony of 65 school children who witnessed a ship land and a gray alien got out of the ship. They were all interviewed, and the description of the gray alien from those 65 school children is what was used to create that geriatric alien.
Yeah.
The third thing is, it's kind of remarkable that the oldest records that we have that we consider to be interactions with off-worlders are in Hebrew. No vowels in Hebrew. Try to speak it. It sounds just like what that gray alien sounded like, and what Emily Blunt said when she was on the news. That's what it sounds like. No vowels at all. Nothing but consonants.
I think it sounds like Klingon myself, which is if you remember the Frasier episode where this kid tricks him and he has to give a speech in Hebrew for his son, and this kid tricks him.
Well, I remember the
instead of
Christopher Lloyd commercial where he played a Klingon in a McDonald's commercial.
Yes.
He said, "Bo McDonald's, ich bo rage." That doesn't sound like the gray alien.
No, it doesn't. I thought this movie was a complete disaster and probably set back the cause of UFO disclosure by 10 years. I didn't think it was, you say you go there to be entertained. It wasn't entertaining. It wasn't. Not only did it not advance the disclosure agenda, it probably set it back 2-3 years. And it was a shit movie on top of that. Steve, you going to watch this one at home? You going to stream Disclosure Day, or just take my word for it?
I'll take your word for it that it's a waste of money.
Okay. Blake,
I had a weatherman friend of mine that saw Twisters, and he hated that movie. I thought it was very entertaining. I'm not a weather guy.
Well, see, that's the thing. Twister was actually an entertaining movie. It was very entertaining compared to this. Blake, any thoughts on Disclosure Day or the disclosure movement in general? And by the way, I bring this up because I do hear that from Anna Paulina Luna that there's going to be more videos released this week. Maybe I'll get another shot to go on Fox News.
Nice.
Talk about it. We'll see. Maybe. We'll see. Blake.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to watching this movie. I haven't been to the theater for a few years, so the way they were hyping this up and Spielberg and all the time they had to, make it all perfect. And it bombed. It's too bad. So yeah, I guess I'll skip it. So thanks for screening that out.
Sorry,
so I don't have to waste my time.
But I would look. If you want to go see it. Take some of the girls from the Lickety Split to see it with you that are into aliens, because chicks dig aliens, guys. That's why I have this on my arm. Chicks dig aliens. I'm just telling you. But don't let me dissuade you, but I would recommend Gary's review on Nerdrotic on YouTube. He's never wrong. He pretty much nails it, except he liked Dune 2021, which I didn't think was very good. But all right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. Thank you for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. I will be back tomorrow with Susan for Tell the Truth Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and then I'll be on Whiskey and Wisdom with the original Mark Z after that. Hang in there. Come on, guys. Give us more super chats and rumble rants. Come on. Help us out. Talk to you guys later. Have a great one. I will see you and the crew next week. Bye-bye.